Ever wondered about Venice in the 1500s? Back then, it was Europe's most admired, wealthy, and influential city. Its canals buzzed, and the Rialto thrived with trade and contracts. Yet, few know its unlikely origins and rise to power. This city commanded respect, conversing as an equal with kings, popes, and sultans. Venice remained a major commercial and cultural capital, built upon 118 separate islands. After centuries of growth, it transformed into a dominant Mediterranean maritime power. To truly grasp Venice's essence, we must look further back because its most striking feature isn't merely how it appeared during its shining century. What's truly impressive is that for so long there was almost nothing. No fertile plains, nor a classic urban base. Just islets, tides, mud, and brackish water. A lagoon where, initially, resistance seemed more logical than building. For a long period, the lagoon was a dispersed area, already home to fishermen and salt producers. However, a major shift occurred due to continental instability, notably the Lombard incursions that began in the year 568. Many people then started viewing the lagoon as a safer refuge than the mainland. This adaptation was evident in their daily lives. The islanders lived intimately with the water. Fishing and salt production became crucial parts of their routine. Venice became a society that learned to survive by constantly moving, fishing, and understanding the water better than anyone else. For centuries, these communities remained connected to the Byzantine world. Venice didn't develop in isolation, but by connecting with the Eastern Mediterranean. While others focused on the mainland, Venice thrived with its gaze fixed on the water. It began as a refuge, but also served as a border and intermediary. In the early 9th century, its political center moved to the Rialto. By 828, St. Mark's relics arrived from Alexandria. Venice now possessed a strong identity and defined sense of self. No longer a mere collection of settlements, but an ambitious community. Unable to compete for agricultural resources, it had to become strong in trade routes, navigation, and efficient administration. Venice grasped a simple truth. It didn't need to produce everything itself. It needed to connect regions and secure shipments better than its rivals. The Adriatic served as its natural corridor to extensive trade networks. The lagoon ceased being merely a refuge. It began transforming into an exchange machine. This leap forward rapidly accelerated during the Middle Ages. Commercial privileges and the Fourth Crusade cemented its presence in the Eastern Mediterranean. Underlying everything was the arsenal. It wasn't merely a shipyard, it was an industrial heartland focused on shipbuilding. Venice transformed its geography into a fundamental structure. It also made the city a vital transit point for international trade. Much of its wealth stemmed not just from production, but from controlling commodity flow and who could negotiate them. And there's something else that makes Venice even more incredible: its foundations. The city doesn't float, as is sometimes claimed, nor did it simply appear on water. Its foundations were meticulously formed over centuries, beginning with the lagoon's first stable settlements, and then continuously as the city expanded, erecting houses, churches, palaces, or bridges. Venetians drove thousands of wooden piles into the mud and clay to create a firm base. On top, they laid wooden platforms, and upon those, they built with brick and stone. The most astonishing part is that this wood remains preserved precisely because it stays submerged in an environment with very low oxygen, significantly slowing its decay. So, Venice stands not on a massive underwater rock, but on patient engineering repeated for generations. This brings us, finally, to 16th century Venice. Here, we no longer see an improvised refuge, but a mature, immensely wealthy city. Venice was unlike any other urban center. Water permeated its daily life. It was infrastructure, not mere decoration. By dawn, activity was ceaseless. Working boats, unloading cargo, and people crossing narrow bridges filled the scene. Upon entering through St. Mark's, one immediately grasped the spectacle of power. The Basilica and the Doge's Palace were a political statement. The economic heartbeat was palpable in the Rialto, Merchants, contracts, and news from global trade routes converged. The stone Rialto Bridge, erected in the late 1500s, affirmed both stability and engineering prowess. It was the city's commercial heart, a symbol of confidence in the location where a significant portion of Venetian business was concentrated. This wealth, however, was not evenly distributed. 16th century Venice was highly stratified. At the top were the patricians, a tiny minority who controlled high politics. They resided in family palaces, transforming prestige into power. Below them, however, stretched a much broader city. Citizens, artisans, shopkeepers, servants, sailors, and dock workers. Before the Great Plague of 1575, patricians constituted less than 5% of the populace, while the common people comprised around 90%. Behind the famous palaces and facades, a majority of people lived by their trade, their daily work, and the constant flow of goods. In the Grand Canal's magnificent palaces, wealth was displayed with marble facades, vast rooms, expensive furniture, and fine art. Down below, the majority lived in modest spaces, with less comfort and a direct connection to the dampness and narrowness of the urban fabric. Cultural influence complemented this material strength. Venice was a premier publishing hub in Europe, essential for the spread of ideas. Murano established itself as a hugely important center for the glass industry. Venetian glass gained widespread prestige across Europe. In 1516, the Senate decreed that Jews must reside in a separate enclosure, the ghetto, blending religious mistrust and economic convenience. The city bolstered its image with impressive buildings and ceremonial spaces. This was a way of affirming that Venetian power still held confidence. Soon after, a serious blow arrived. The 1509 defeat at Agnadello revealed the Republic's vulnerability to European coalitions. The loss of Cyprus in 1570 was a harsh blow. Yet, in 1571, the Battle of Lepanto brought Venice a major naval victory. The Great Plague of 1575 spread via fleas carried by rodents. In a port city, ship movements made it exceptionally dangerous. The epidemic struck a very dense city, halting daily life and killing almost a third of its population. This was an extremely harsh trial. After the plague, the Senate erected the Redentor Church, an edifice forever linked to the memory of that epidemic. Venice transformed its challenging geography into a powerful tool. It made water its defense, navigation a system, and commerce its policy. We now see more than just canals and palaces. We see an improbable historical solution that worked for centuries better than anyone thought possible. I'm Max. Thank you for journeying with me into the past to understand what lies before us today. Now tell me in the comments, what city, place, or historical moment would you like to see reconstructed? See you in the next era.